Welcome back, my friends. We have been building the Metro Map project from the YByte Python curriculum available at www.ybyte.in. In the previous video, we drew our first line on the map, which is a scratch line. Now we have drawn it equally spaced horizontal, but obviously you can be more creative. You can draw it with different spacing between the stations. You can draw it in a different orientation and so on and so forth. You also know that there is another line, the Python line, which is going to come in here and intersect with the YByte, with the scratch line at the YByte interchange. However, before proceeding to build that, in fact, we are going to do the other aspects of our project. We are going to complete our project because you can think of it this way that just like any other city, maybe this network is being built incrementally. Perhaps right now there's only one line on the network, but even so, my utility could be quite useful for passengers because they may want to go from any station to any other station on this line itself. From a programming perspective, also, it's logical first to build the other stuff and then go and build this next line because that aligns our thoughts, that makes us understand the full flow better, and then we can think of better, the whole logic flows much more better. So, in short, rather than building the next line just yet, I am in fact going to build my complete project, which means I'm going to add the other widgets, starting with the drop down menus for the start and stop in this video. Now remember, my program had these drop down menus where I could select the start station and the stop stations. Now those are basically widgets. As it happens for every widget, we first define and then we put them on the on the window here. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to define a widget here called drop start. Now this is going to be a drop down menu. So I do that by creating tk.option. So be careful with the cases. It's option menu, O capital, M capital. Now this basically gives me a drop down box. I want it to appear on the window, and I'm going to use two variables here which I'll define in just a moment. So I call it, let's say, start station, and I'm going to keep another variable star, let's say, all stations. Now I haven't defined these yet, which is why I'm getting an error, but we will fix this as we go on. Having done this, I want to now place this on the on the window. Now in this case, I'm going to not use pack because pack is going to just, if I don't qualify it properly, it's going to just put it under the canvas. But let's say I want to place it somewhere else, so I'm going to use another method of placing this. I'm going to say drop start dot place, and what place does is that it places the widget using the x and y coordinates. Again, xy 00 is here, x increasing in the horizontal direction, y increasing the vertical direction downward. So let's say I say, okay, let me just put this at, let's say, x equals to 50 and say y equals to say 300. Now again, there's no fixed rule about this, but I could just place it here. The difference between place and pack is kind of like a best effort. So wherever there's a place, you pack it, you put it there. With place, I'm precisely identifying the the x and y coordinates where this widget will appear. I'm doing it because there's kind of flexibility. I can place it here, I can place it somewhere else. Maybe you may want to place start here, stop over here, or whichever way you want. So place gives it the flexibility. That's why I'm doing it this way. Now, as we discussed, there are some errors right now because I've used these two variables without defining them. Now, start station here is a very special variable which is called tk, so I just call it, tk dot string var, right? String var. Oops, I made a mistake here. So tk dot string var. Now, string var, without getting too caught up with this, basically is a special type of string which allows us to retrieve whatever value has been selected in the drop down box, and we'll see that later. Again, don't get too caught up in this. It's just a Tkinter special variable which is useful for us here, so that's why we are using it. All stations is the list of stations that's going to populate that drop down menu. In this case right now, my stations have, there's only the scratch line on the stations, so I just call it, let's say, all stations is equal to stnsl. Now later on, when we have the next line, then all stations could be more, but right now that's all I have on the network. So I just go and put this drop down menu. When I run this code, notice I get a drop down menu, and indeed it is allowing me to select whatever I wanted. All the stations are displayed here. Now let's just spend a moment trying to sort of look at this carefully. Notice I have used a place method to place it at x of 50, y of 300. That's why it's sort of, middle of the canvas. Now you might say that, okay, no, I don't want it here. I want it slightly lower. Probably I can make it, let's say, maybe 400. So in which case it will come down. I can even change the y value. Now, going back to this command here, when I defined the option menu, notice I've used star all stations. If I did not do that, I will get all the stations listed in one row. I do not want that. I am going to use, let's say, all star all stations, which will, but if I use, let's say, star all stations, it all appears quite nicely. Again, the string var we'll see a little bit later. But notice now my widget has been placed slightly below because I made y of 500. Now I can also help my user by, telling what this widget does. So I just say maybe c dot create, text, let's say at 50, maybe 390, slightly above the widget. And here I just say text is equal to, say, start, so that the user knows what we are talking of. Mind you, this is not a widget. The text we are creating is exactly like these text labels that we have created. On the other hand, this option menu is indeed a widget. So when I run this, I get a start and I can select whatever station I want to. Now, clearly, I need one more of, let's say, these drop down boxes. So all I do is to sort of copy this around. I just say, okay, paste this again. So I'm going to create a text message here. Let's say slightly to the right. So make it 250 and this should be stop. Again, this has to be a string var, but I'm going to call it, let's say, stop station. I'm going to call it drop stop so that, there's no confusion. There's a proper name given to it. Now this value, the value selected from here will be linked with this string var called stop station. However, all the stations, rather any of the stations could be a stop station, and hence I let it be star all stations. Notice the star is important here. Any station could be the stop station, so I let it be there. I go and place it at 250, 400. Now again, this is, up to you. You can place it differently. You can put them one over the top of the other. That's okay. But whatever you like, right? But the place method is giving us that flexibility because we are stating the x and y coordinate explicitly. Now with this done, so when I run this code, I notice that there's a mistake. The mistake is really a silly mistake actually. This should have been drop stop. So I'm going to say drop stop dot place, because I just placed the drop start again at this point, right? So that's not what I wanted. It has to be drop stop. So I fix that. Now when I run this code, I get a start and I get a stop. I can select anything from start. I can select anything from stop. Later on, we'll build the code to go further and, let's say, do the further computations. Now we may have to adjust these a little bit later once the Python line comes in, but that's okay because we have the flexibility available over here. So obviously we are going to come back and build further on this. Now my suggestion to all of you is go through this slowly. There's a lot of detail and hence very easy to make mistakes. But if you're systematic, you'll find that this is not all that hard. I hope this has been interesting to you. In general, if you find that building activities makes you understand things better, look at our website www.ybyte.in because we learn Python programming through such fun activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.